Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Scoop Phase. Just me today. I'm going to work, so I'm driving. Probably what the background noise you'll hear is. There's a few new spoilers. There's actually 3 new spoilers the day I'm recording this, going into town. It's Phyrexian Revoker, whatever that new Hell Vault was, because I don't have them pulled up, because I'm recording it on my iPad, so I can't hear them. And then new Avacyn. It's Avacyn Guardian Angel. I like all of them. I'm most excited for Phyrexian Revoker because I like to play that card in aggressive decks in Modern and Legacy and their sideboards. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's a 2-mana 2/1. When it enters, name a non-land card. That card's activated abilities can't be activated. I think that's all it does. It might stop from being cast, but I know it stops from being activated. It's mainly a Pithing Needle on a stick, except you can't name, like, lands, which is sometimes relevant, but for the most part it's not. But it does stop mana abilities. So if you just really want to stop your opponent from tapping a Birds of Paradise for mana, because you normally can't do that. You could name Birds of Paradise and they can't tap for mana. That's normally not what you do though. You use the Phyrexian Revoker, stopping things like, I guess in Standard, things like Elspeth, Sun's Champion, Jay's Arctic Thought, just things like that. Modern and Legacy, there's a few more things to worry about. Ajani Vengeance, Liliana of the Veil, Scavenging Ooze, which I guess you have to worry about in Standard somewhat. But I'm going to stop on that because I'm just analyzing the card in a bunch of formats, and that can be kind of boring for some people. So I love the card. Alright, as much as I love the card. The weird new Hell Vault, it's kind of like Oblivion Stone mixed with Hell Vault. It's 4 mana to play, tap 5 in it, exile whatever its name is, and all non-land permanents. It's a little worse than Oblivion Stone as far as Tron is concerned, because they can't shuffle it back in, or if they're playing Catamoons, they can't put it back on top for view utility. Oblivion Stone just destroys all non-land permanents, and it can put fake counters on things. This just exiles everything, doesn't care what it is. So this would be good in like the mono blue Tron deck, where it just doesn't care about its permanents, because it just has some mana rocks. And when it assembles Tron, it doesn't need those mana rocks anymore, as long as there's a few islands. It might see play in like the standard blue-white control deck. But just like the Elixir version of that deck with no win conditions. That deck would be so good with this card. I mean, the reason people don't play that deck is because it has no win condition other than making your opponent deck themselves with Elixir of Immortality in your deck, or them scooping. It's normally them scooping. So that'd be perfect in that deck if you just want to be that guy at your FNM. And just draw every round because your opponent won't scoop. So we'll move on now before I go on more of a rant. Avacyn Guardian Angel. It's 2 and triple white for a 5/4 Flying Vigilance. So a 5 mana 5/4 Flying Vigilance. It passes the vanilla test. Flying colors. So you already know this is going to be really limited. It could potentially see standard play just because it's a 5/4 Flying Vigilance for 5, which is pretty solid stats. It's very good against like other creature decks, out of sideboards, I guess. But its only really relevant ability on it, other than Flying Vigilance, is tap 1 in a white, prevent all damage from a source. It's really really. You basically prevent all damage from a colored source of your choice dealt to target creature this turn by tapping 1 in white. So it can stop Anger of the Gods from killing something, Mizzium Mortars. It can make combat damage really awkward for your opponents to attack in or block. So it's really good against just random creature decks. Against like mono red, where the removals Mizzium Mortars, like you get to untap with this. Mizzium Mortars will now be. Oops, there's my phone again. Mizzium Mortars will now just be super bad. And then its probably worst ability is tap 5 white. Target player gains protection from a colored source of your choice until end of turn, which is pretty bad. 7 mana to protect yourself from a burn spell is really bad, especially since she's a 5/4. Like, if you have to worry about things like Warrior's Helix, tap 7 mana to protect yourself, you're probably already dead, or she's already dead at that point, against, like, the burn deck. Especially if they just bring in their Chain of the Rocks, if you're not, like, if you're a creature deck that has this in your sideboard. So she's probably definitely do not want this against the burn deck. Being 5 mana is really slow when it's not an Archangel of Thune. And 7 mana to protect yourself from a burn spell is pretty bad in Standard. It might have EDH applications. Since it's an Angel, it might see play in the Kaalia EDH deck. Just because it's another Angel to be putting in with some relevant abilities. And generating mana in pretty much every EDH deck is not a problem with all the colored mana rocks in EDH. So she could see play there in a Kaalia deck for some reason if they wanted to prevent damage. Let's see. So that was today's spoilers that I saw. We went over Planeswalkers that were spoiled yesterday, Paragon Cycle. Man, I really wish I had these pulled up so I could just remember them. I do know something weird about the spoilers. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed. A bunch of them aren't in the modern, like the new card frame that they've been showing for M15 cards. And they're just like really weird looking, like they just look like they just copy and pasted the older card on like Mythic Spoiler. So I'm not entirely sure where these came from. Like, a lot of people think they might be fake because there are just some random cards in there that don't make a lot of sense, like Wall of Mulch, Ornithopter, Darksteel Citadel. These things just seem really weird, and a bunch of them just seem kind of mishmashed together, which is really weird for a core set, especially when, I'm actually going to get to a spoiler now, that Sliverland, it's a land, it just taps out of colorless, tap 5 in it, put a 1/1 colorless Sliver token into play, activate this ability only if you control the Sliver. So that, like, Slivers are coming back. I don't think we went over that card, and I just missed my turn, which is fantastic. Let's take this next turn. But, so it's a neat card. It puts Slivers into play. It can act as card advantage if you're just, like, not drawing creatures and you need to tap your mana to do something. In the Sliver deck, if you have a Sliver, putting 1/1s into play is never really that bad because they're not really 1/1s. They're 1/1s with abilities from whatever other Slivers you have. And then, so like, I'm hoping they don't do the weird humanoid Slivers again. Those things were really weird and make no sense. Especially with like Soul Chandelar, where I know they were on Chandelar. I think that's where they came from, as we discussed. Yeah, it would be yesterday from today. Yeah, that's right. So, like, hopefully we'll have the old ones back. They look kind of like aliens. Like, those were super cool to me. And a lot of people didn't like the humanoid ones. Wizards, for some reason, got a ton of flack for it, which is weird. It's just a card game. Flavor is relevant, but the flavor behind it was Slivers adapt to their environment. So they're adapting to their new environment. But anyway, that's not spoilers. On to the next one. Crucible of Fire's back. So it looks like Tribal Dragons might be a thing. First, for that to happen, we need some really efficient ramp spells that aren't Elvish Mystic and just Sylvan Caryatid. Elvish Mystic dies, Sylvan Caryatid's very good, but it can only do so much ramp in a deck where dragons are normally, like, the good ones are 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. Like, they are pretty expensive on the curve. So they need to be very good for their mana cost. Wow, that little house is, like, covered in trees now. Ignore me when I start rambling. I'm driving, so I get distracted. But Tribal Dragons might be a thing. That's actually pretty cool. Dragons have always been neat. None of them have ever been really good, but, like, Stormwrath Dragon's really good. So if we could play Stormwrath Dragon, some other dragons, a bunch of ramp spells, and Crucible Fire, like, that'd be awesome. Maybe some kind of weird, like, Rug Dragons deck, because Sylvan Caryatid and Cura's Follower, that's it, the blue-green guy, Voyaging Satyr, and Elvish Mystic. There's a bunch of creature ramp, so it wouldn't be too hard to just power out some big old dragons on, like, turn 3, 4, probably turn 4. Oh man. Cop. I hope he's pulling that guy over, and not me. I don't know what's going on. He's pulling that guy over, not me for speeding. Woo! Yay, other guy speeding. Sorry about that, guys. I really don't like to get pulled over. I'm sure no one does. But yeah, Crucible Fire, Tribal Dragons. So maybe there might be a neat, like, Rug Dragon ramp deck that comes out of this core set. That would be super neat. Hopefully it would be competitive, because everyone likes to see big dumb dragons coming down and attacking players for lots of damage. At least I know I do, because seeing Stormwrath dragons alongside other dragons would make me pretty happy. Like, if they reprint Scion of the Ur-Dragon, which isn't going to happen, because it's a 5-color, multicolored card, so I don't think they're going to do a 5-color card in a core set. Like, they did one that I can, like, remember recently was Theros, or Born of the Gods, I guess. That was the only recent one I've seen since, like, before even I started, which was Dark Ascension, which was Chromanticore. And then there might be some of the EDH Commander decks, but probably not. So that was neat, seeing Crucible Fire in there. What? Aggressive Mining. That's one I'm excited about. Oh, it's gonna be bad. Okay, there we go. We made it, guys. Train tracks. Really bumpy. Slow down. Aggressive Mining is a 3-red enchantment. Let's see. You can't play lands. Sacrifice a land. Draw 2 cards. Drawing 2 cards, sacrificing lands is an extremely potent ability. And even though you can't play lands, there are ways to get around that if, like, Rampant Growth and Farseek effects are in Standard. But this seems like the perfect sideboard card for an aggressive deck, where against a control deck you're probably going to flood. So you get to 4 or 5 lands. This card's the top of your curve. You drop this, you sack a land and draw 2 cards. Sack another land, draw 2 cards. You untap, you start playing more things, and all of a sudden the control deck's like, wow, I really need to kill this Aggressive Mining, because he just drew 4 cards and has a handful of threats. I don't know if they'll actually ever kill it, but I know I would if I was a control player, because if my aggro opponent can start drawing 2 cards off of all of their excess mana, or a mid-range ramp deck that's just like the Dragon Ramp deck, if that's ever a thing. Like the Jund Monsters that could play this, as that deck can be kind of grindy, especially against control decks. It can just kind of go really grindy. Like this alongside Chandra Pyromaster. Chandra's drawing you cards off the top of your deck. You don't like that card, you can't cast it. You sacrifice some lands, draw some extra cards, and cast some really good spells. I mean, I think this card seems really good. I'm going to definitely play this in EDH, because there's plenty of ramp spells in EDH to go grab lands to get around the whole fact that you can't play your lands anymore. So that seems really awesome. And maybe if you play this with, like, Crucible of Worlds, you sacrifice all your lands to Aggressive Mining, draw a bunch of cards, and then you blow up the Aggressive Mining with something. Then you have Crucible of Worlds, you can start playing your lands back out of your graveyard. Like, that might be a neat little thing to do if you're an EDH player playing red and probably green, because you want to be playing extra lands, like with Exploration, Explore, Azusa. Azusa? Yeah, Azusa. Yeah, it's Azusa, not wrong. So, like, that's a neat thing to be looking out for. And this road's super bumpy. Ooh, semi. Man, it's not as fun without co-host like you do here. Tell me I'm an idiot. I'm sure you guys miss him telling me I'm an idiot. I do. Anyway, I'm trying to think of any other interesting spoilers that we didn't already cover. I know the pre-release promo is in Garruk's Wake. 7 colorless, black, sorcery. Destroy all planeswalkers and destroy all creatures you don't control. It's not exactly worded like that, but that's what it does. So it's a 9 mana, 1-sided Wrath. Pretty sure that's what Plague Wind was, except it didn't kill planeswalkers and they can't regenerate. I think Plague Wind was 9 mana, destroy all creatures you don't control. I think. Like, once again, I wasn't around for that when it was printed. I've seen it once or twice in some binders. So, anyway, Wrath of God, and actually it's just Fated Retribution without the scry, but it's only for 1-sided. So it's very powerful. And bump. It's a very powerful ability. The only downside to this card is it's 9 mana. So, like, I don't know if Mono Black Devotion can play this card since they're not playing Nykthos to generate a bunch of mana. Like, if there was a black deck playing Nykthos, like a base black deck that was playing Nykthos, like they could easily play this card. As we've seen, Nykthos is a very, very powerful card. Stave used in Standard. Even some modern decks have picked it up. this car is like ready to pass me. But yeah, so like Nykthos could easily power out this car. The only problem is finding a black devotion deck that really wants to be abusing that. Well, maybe a rotation. We'll have Nykthos. We haven't seen any 4-mana Wrath effects yet. The only real Wraths we have after rotation so far is Something All Hope, the black one, destroy all non-camera creatures in this, and Faded Retribution. So like, there's no cheap Wrath effects. So like, if it might just become a bunch of creature decks battling against each other, where in that kind of a meta, Nykthos is extremely powerful because there's not the ability to just kill everything at one time very cheaply. So you'll be able to use your Nykthos more effectively because you'll be able to generate tons of mana more often than you normally would be able to because we don't have to worry about the control decks killing all our guys. So in Garruk's Wake, Faded Retribution, Raise all Hope, I think is what it is. Destroy all Hope, something like that. Like, those could start seeing play in a deck with Nykthos. Well, maybe not Faded Retribution. But they could see play in those decks because they don't have to worry about the 4-mana Wrath anymore. So, like, that'd be interesting to see. If the spoilers keep going like they're going, and we don't get this cheap 4-mana Wrath, then I'd love to come to Standard after rotation, where it's not just all one deck. And for a couple weeks, we'll actually have some fun decks in Standard. A bunch of creature decks just kind of battling, depending on what's in the first set of the next block. Hopefully no 4-mana Wrath there. Because I'm just kind of tired of seeing 4-mana Wraths in Standard. I just want to break for a little bit, so I can actually, like, battle some creatures on creatures, and have some good fun that involves combat math. Even though I probably have to stare down Thought Seizes and... Wow, actually, Mono Black Devotion's also going away because they're losing so many things that enable the Devotion deck in the first place. So yeah, rotation's going to be fun. Hopefully, with just the way that things are looking now. And I apologize how terrible it is today. Co's Like a Number 2's not here. He just had some things that he had to do today at our house, because me and him live together. He's my brother. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, I think we've told you guys. If you listen to our YouTube MTG Steam Brewery videos, this is just an MTG Steam Brewery side production. I wouldn't try to do this every spoiler season. Maybe we can do it in between if there's something like that we really want to talk about. It's just kind of hard to like schedule these things. This is why we're doing it while we're driving. Simply because it's so easy to do this. Like Mark Rosewater does it while he's driving. He doesn't have to schedule out time. And I'm keep blah 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 blahing. And I know you guys are probably bored already, so I'm going to go ahead and say bye, guys. We'll see you next time. Don't be afraid to hit us up anywhere. Hit us up on our email, PureSoulsBlog@yahoo.com, or on Twitter, @PureSoulsBlog. You can find my articles I write over Magic content on mtgbrodeals.com. You can find my earlier works on PureSoulsBlog.wordpress.com, which I've forgotten to write on that in a long time, so I'm probably going to be putting something on that up on that within the next week or two. So be on the lookout for that. I will be writing an article next week if I get time to do it. I'm a college kid. I work part-time, full-time student. Work a lot at home. So it's really hard for me to find time to do things. But anyway, guys, rambling. I'm going to go now. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.